You're George Lucas!
I take it you're here for the Star Wars convention.
I sure am. Want to see my costume? See? I'm a Tauntaun. But I don't have to tell you. You invented Tauntauns.
Well, that's very interesting.
Listen to my Tauntaun call.
Nicely done. Oh, dear God.
Oh, my God, George Lucas!
Oh, my God.
Quickly, sir, onto my back. I am your steed.
Bad feeling about this. Oh, well, and I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Just like in the movie. Thank you. Thank you. And that was the greatest day of my whole life.
What about when I was born?
Not even close.
Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to Geekfest Rants. My name is Carlos Perron, and joining me today, I have Steve Vivona. Say hi, Steve.
Hey, Carlos.
Today, we are going to be exploring the topic of autograph collecting. Now, we kind of touched upon this a very long time ago in a different manner. We did a show a while back about collecting in general, and all the different things, you know, from toys to books to movies to autographs and that sort of thing. So we kind of touched it a little bit.
Yes.
But today, we're going to specifically be dealing with autographs because the manner in which autograph collecting has changed, I mean, obviously, it's a business now. There's an actual industry all about autograph collecting and authenticating and this and that and the other. But let's start a little bit with how we got started collecting autographs in terms of, you know, how much did it cost back then? You know, what kind of people? Where did you go and do it? Where did you buy that stuff? So, Steve, tell me about your beginnings of autograph.
Well, why don't you tell me your beginnings because you started before me.
Oh, wow.
You started well before me.
Well, I started maybe in the mid-'80s, I would say, mid to late
long
80s.
Before me.
Well, the way I was doing it was because I used to go to these sci-fi conventions at the time in Manhattan. It was, you know, get to go to the city, to go to the Creation conventions or the Starlock conventions back at the Roosevelt Hotel or the Penta Hotel, you know. And this is something we've been bitching and moaning, and we probably will be for the rest of our lives. You used to pay maybe $12, and then you had the tickets for the entire weekend. And what would happen in a convention is, aside from, you know, you being able to listen to panels by some presentations by famous people, you know, they're telling you, I mean, you know, the Shatner types. Even back then, you know, it was still, but keep in mind, all the B stars, all the secondary actors, all those are the type of people
that was their bread
show
and butter.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, they would come in and they would give you a speech about stuff. And then after the speech, you could go and line up somewhere and you would get an autograph. And it'd be like, oh, that's good. But it's like, oh, wait a minute. But this is free. Back then, this was all free. In other words, all you had to do was pay the door fee. And then you line up. Obviously, what you get autographed, it's up to you. The money that would be made in there would be by other exhibitors or people selling toys, merchandise. They would be selling pictures. There would be sections of tables and tables of glossy color and black and white photos where, you know, you would pay maybe $3 for a black and white picture, maybe $5 if you could afford it for a color picture, and then you would take those pictures, get on the line,
signed.
And that was part of the deal for the next, you know, after their presentation for an hour or two, or maybe even more, depending on the individual, they would sign your picture, your toy, whatever the hell you wanted, they're there to sign. But that was, I guess, back when that's how those contracts used to be. Yeah. You know, I guess the company would hire the star or the actor or whatever you want to call them for, let's say, 10 grand. And for 10 grand, they had them for that weekend.
Right.
And for 10 grand, they would do an hour-long conversation, a Q&A, and then maybe another 2 hours of signing. And then they get to go to their hotel room and come back the next day.
And get first-class plane tickets and the whole 9 yards.
Right. Now, who knows? Maybe they had the low-end people back then and the high-end people, which they did. I mean, you know, there's a difference between even back in the 80s getting a Shatner and getting a, you know, the third registered from the left type of actor.
Sure.
So as far as the audience, the people that were going to these things went, it was great. You could bring whatever you wanted to bring. You know, you don't have to spend a ton of money on autographs. If you're spending money, maybe you're buying toys, you're buying collectibles. Because keep in mind, at that time, no eBay, no internet, nothing. So you want to find rare toys unless you have a comic book shop nearby or something like that, or you actually communicate through letters with somebody.
Yes, or magazines, back of magazines.
Oh, no, forget it. The place to go was the conventions because that's where you see these old toys hanging. I mean, good Lord, if we could have bought some, even in the 80s, we could have, all those Star Wars. Anyway, so that's how it used to be. And through that, I got a nice small little collection, of autographs. And little by little, the conventions kept getting more expensive. One day, all of a sudden, it was like, okay, so-and-so is signing for free, like they always do, but he's also bringing his own pictures now. And if you want this special picture of, a headshot, specially made by this person, you're going to have to pay a little more. Oh, okay, I'll give you an extra $2, And then you had the ones where I'm appearing, but I'm not signing. Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, I'm appearing, but I'm only signing my own paid stuff. Oh, okay. And now is completely different.
By the time I got involved, it had gotten really out of hand. We should also differentiate between the conventions that the Starlog and Creation conventions and the shows like Chiller, like the pure autograph shows, which in the tri-state area where we live, the only one is really Chiller. Or now they have New York Comic Con, which you can go get autographs signed.
It's a mishmash.
It's a mishmash. But a lot of other places in the country have more just pure autograph shows. I'll get into that in a little while. But I didn't start getting into the whole autograph thing until about 2001, around that time. And it was just another hobby that I dove into. My thing is whatever hobby I've been involved with, whether it be comics or movies or any kind of collecting, I kind of take it to an obsessive level. But it also sticks with me for a number of years. Like I just don't get into something and then 6 months later I'm out. This hobby has been with me now for 13 years. So you can break it up between collecting through the mail.
I remember I tried that once because I don't know where it was. I bought a little book that said, if you want autographs from the stars, you contact these numbers. And it was P.O. Box, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And most of the stuff that I got through that I remember, I'm sure it's been
fake
prints and somebody else signed it or something like that.
And I remember I worked in a library, and in the reference section of the library, they had these big reference books that were supposedly addresses for the stars, and they were mostly agencies and things like that and publicists and whatever. And I didn't even attempt it back then. But then when the internet came along, websites popped up dedicated to autograph collecting and kind of zoned you in on who to write to, who not to write to, who's going to send you a fake back, who you can, who's going to send you something real, where you're going to have a home address, an agency address, a movie set address, a TV address. All those factor into whether or not you're either going to get something back that's authentic, things like that. So the resources that came along for autograph collecting with the internet made it a lot easier. So I decided to jump in at that point. And also at that point, too, I decided to really dive into the convention scene. I had sort of dipped my toes in it in the late 80s. Around the same time as you, but I was not getting autographs. I was going more for the comics, and I would go for the presentations and that kind of.
And back then, I imagine if you lived in Long Island, that would have been quite a schlep to go to the city.
Well, you just take the train, to the Penta. The Penta was right outside of Penn Station, but by no means did I do this frequently. So
I remember it was like the big Thanksgiving convention every year.
Yeah, and they were mostly in New York because Creation was based in New York. Before then they moved out to California.
Weren't they in Jericho?
They were in Mineola, where I grew up. They had stores. They had comic book stores, and they even had little mini cons at the store. They would rent out. It was so cheesy. They never had any celebrities. Oh, well, maybe they would have comic book artists or something, but they would have little. They would rent like a Knights of Columbus hall. I could ride my bike there. And I remember they would do slideshows. And I remember the first time I ever heard anything about Star Trek 4 was at one of these little mini cons. And they're talking about whales and Eddie Murphy. Yeah. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But I mean, that's where I actually heard the news. So anyway, we're talking about I'm in my early 30s when I'm starting onto the convention scene. And we're at a time when most of my friends couldn't do this anymore. But my wife was nice enough to free me up, and I went to a bunch of creation shows in California. I went to some locally in Jersey, Trek shows. And really what it had evolved into was that if you wanted the good seats. And if you wanted, let's say, 12 or 13 autographs,
well,
you
but
paid,
let's just clear this up. It used to be that, for example, if you wanted to hear somebody talk at 3:00, go to the auditorium, grab a seat, and there you're at.
No.
Now it's like you're reserving plane tickets.
Yeah, exactly. So what I did was I went to 3 of the Grand Slam creation shows.
Which you've written about on
Yes.
previous editorials.
Yes, I have written. They were all in Pasadena or Burbank. And really what it was you paid. If I was going to go to California, I wanted the premium package because I was going to California and I wanted. So it would be about $300 for the reserved gold package, the good seat. You would have a seat reserved for you, and you would get about, I think, 13 autographs included in that price.
That's not bad.
No, it wasn't bad.
That's damn good.
So I remember going to a show and like Mark Hamill was there. Mark Hamill was not included in that. Or I would go to a show and Shatner would be there and Shatner was not included in that.
The second tier.
Yeah. They would be, you'd get like Brent Spiner and a lot of next gen people and stuff.
Normally like $30 a pop,
or
30,
people,
$40 a pop.
Yeah,
these
people
days.
on Enterprise or whatever was the big thing at the day. I went to a show where they had 3 actors from Lost, and the Lost actors were included in the price.
And what would they give you, a voucher or something?
Yeah, and then once that one was done, it was crossed off, So, and it would entitle you to like 1. So if you wanted an extra, you were paying an extra price. But I got a lot of autographs. I mean, I met them, and then that was also the dawn of the photo op. The photo op, which became this thing where...
Well, let's bring it back again. When you got your free autograph back in the 80s, you could also, most times...
take a picture?
Yeah, take a picture. Yeah, sure, come over here.
Yeah.
Put your hand around the person. Hey, okay, thank you, bye.
Yeah. Now that is not... Now, it's funny because that...
Don't touch me.
That was security. And the thing is, like at a creation show, it was a lot more like security and regimented, and you could not take pictures with them when they were signing. If they had their own table, that meant that they were an independent contractor and they were renting the table and you were paying the money directly to them and they were taking it home. So they had to pay their costs. But also, they didn't mind taking a picture. I was like, as long as you were getting an autograph, not just, if you're getting the autograph, then okay. But if you're not getting the autograph, no picture. But I never harassed anybody who I wasn't already getting an autograph from. So at the autograph shows, you could almost always, oh yeah, sure, take a picture, no problem. The prices started to incrementally go up and up and up. At the time that I kind of dove in, it was probably about $25.
For what kind of level, what kind of tier?
Whoever was, like, say you had a guest star on Star Trek, the original series, it'd be $25.
Yeah.
I can remember, I think the most I ever spent at a autograph show for somebody was I paid $40 for Adam West and $30 for Burt Ward. Now, flash forward 8-9 years later, some autograph shows, if he can get away with it, Adam West will charge you $100.
Oh, man.
Which is insane.
Adam West.
All the shows now, the creation shows, the autograph shows, wherever you're going, photo ops are a regimented thing. They're an official thing.
Right.
No pictures at the table.
No. And you use their service. The company they're taking
whoever
the picture.
They're contracting with, you use their service. The star will leave his table for an hour or whatever it is, and you'll go there. It's insane. I remember that was one of my favorite things at the autograph shows was to get pictures with them. And I think, if I remember correctly, one person, and this was probably around 2006, charged me for a photo. And I was like, really? But I really wanted to get a picture with him. And it was right at that point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to, I can't afford this anymore. I went to shows in LA and in the tri-state. I even went to Toronto, and I had a great time. But I think I'm not saying I'll never go again, but I think I kind of met my quota. I really met as many, you're talking about Star Trek, Battlestar, Lost, all these great shows, Firefly. I met so many people, got pictures and did the rounds. And so I don't want to say I'm
the other
retired,
thing about the photos is that it's gotten to the point now where not only are you not allowed to take the photo, you have to go through the special service. I get that. Okay, fine. But now they'll cover the person they pull them in a separate room.
Yep.
They'll set up a curtain so you can't even see the person from across the street. Because they don't want you even looking at this person
we're
if you're
sneaking a
not paying
picture.
for it. Or if you're taking a picture from a block, Because come on, what the
Yeah,
hell?
yeah. It's gotten to the point, see, almost like I don't really even want to go anymore, because of that. With creation, I was willing to foot the money because I loved Star Trek and I loved these shows, and I was willing to, have the in-person experience with these people and everything. But it wasn't like something I could do indefinitely. It was
Well,
a
they
couple
also
years.
say a lot of times never meet your heroes
Well, I have to confess,
because sometimes you
can be very disappointed.
Sometimes they'll be stars and they'll be entertainers, and sometimes they'll be like, yeah, okay.
You know what? The internet is a beautiful thing, and if you want to know what a person is like in person, then all you have to do is a little research, a little legwork, and you won't be disappointed. Everybody knows that it's no great shakes to meet William Shatner. I knew that going in, so I wasn't disappointed. Somebody like Leonard Nimoy is an amazing, wonderful person. I know he's getting paid, but he goes the extra mile. And I would have to say that 85 to 90% of the people that I've met under those conditions have been really sweet and really nice.
They have to think of it as a job. It's a performance.
Yeah.
Do your job.
Do your job.
Be the friendly guy for
Right.
that 3-hour span, and then you can go off and...
Unless somebody's a real jerk, a member of the public is a real jerk, then you have no reason not to be nice. But I have to say, in my experience, people have been great. And what I've migrated into, as far as, we'll get into the mail thing in a second, as far as the convention or the autograph shows, there's sort of this informal network of people all across the country who are willing to help each other out at these shows. Oh, I live in Tennessee, I live in LA, I live here, I live there. And we all get together on these websites. And if somebody needs help, they will get you the autograph. And they'll put like a $5 or $10
Right.
cover charge, on
Surcharge,
it,
right.
which I don't have any problem with because I can't get these people like if they don't sign through the mail or
Right, and sometimes they don't come to the East Coast. They're exclusively one area. You hooked me up with the Corey D. Williams,
yeah.
which is like, I love it. It's great.
Yeah, it was like St. Louis, I think. That
And it's
show.
like, I remember I was even writing to him on Facebook because, I have him as a
Yes.
Facebook friend. And I'm like, when are you coming to New York? He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm still Minneapolis is next. And how do I meet you?
But again, it's made it so easy, and it's helped my collection immeasurably.
Oh, I could imagine.
These people who almost like dedicate their lives to it, but it also helps fund them. I mean, if they're willing to do like a 3-day con and they're getting like all these autographs for people, the $10 charge that they're levying on
Right.
you, it adds up so they can get a bunch of autographs for free, basically. It's a lot of legwork, but
a lot of standing in line.
Yes. And when you get to the table and you say, "Here, I have 50 autographs for you to sign," sometimes people are like, "Really?"
Right.
But you're getting paid.
But the person's going to get the
yeah,
money.
it's the
so-
people behind you in line are
Yeah, those
pissed
are the
off.
ones that are going to want to kill you.
Yeah. Also, though, the prices have gone insane. We were talking off mic a little while ago. Recently, my absolute hero, Sylvester Stallone, appeared at New York Comic Con, and I was all excited that I would finally have. I personally was not going to go, but I knew plenty of people who would help me. But when I read that the fee for one autograph was going to be $400, I just wanted to cry because I can't justify that on any planet. If he'd been $100, maybe even $150, I would have paid it, but not $400. And I have to say that other people who've charged that much for not even a convent, but like a private signing, Harrison Ford, $400. John Travolta, $400. I mean, that's crazy.
Have you ever met Stallone? Have you ever seen him in person?
No.
I saw him once. He was promoting that television fighting show that he was involved
Contender,
in.
yeah.
Yeah. And he walked in the area where I was working. He walked like 10 feet in front of me from side to side. He is like a little tiny action figure. He is buff, but compact.
5'5".
It's unusual how,
In the movies, he wears lifts.
of course,
Yeah.
but it's like Al Pacino, same thing. They're a little guy, but this guy, it's weird to see somebody so buff but compact
Yeah,
and
he's
short.
a tiny little guy. And it's just
It's like you can pick him up and take
hug
him home
and
with
kiss
you.
him, and and Stallone, in terms of reachability, in terms of getting him an authentic autograph of him through the mail, your chances are slim to none. So that's why
It's a big deal that he's doing this. I mean,
it's huge. And my hope is that maybe he'll keep doing them, and maybe the price will come down. I don't know, or maybe.
have you ever seen prices go
No,
down?
I know. All I'm saying to myself, somewhere down the line, I might have to suck it up and do it just so I can have him in my collection.
Well, he's promoting Expendables 3, I
Right,
guess. He's doing
yeah.
the pre-work for it.
Right.
And,
And they-
I mean, it's ironic that he has to stoop to this level to promote something, but at the same time, he's punching their fans, in the stomach.
Exactly. When actors reach that point where they're either making appearances or at cons or doing private signings, it usually is sort of an indicator of where they're at. And there's a website called Celebrity Authentics, and they're sponsoring Stallone, and they've sponsored all these other signings with people. And I've paid prices for certain people, like $75 for like Chris Hemsworth, Thor. I mean, I don't have a problem.
I got a
with
Chris Hemsworth Star Trek auto card for like $10.
Yeah, but I want.
And now I put that card with a picture of Thor next to him, and it's framed in my kid's bedroom.
I want the 8x10 of him as Thor to Steve. Blah blah blah.
If he makes a movie 30 years from now, I have his autograph.
That's great. I don't like auto cards.
The only thing I like about auto cards is the
glossies.
fact that they're real.
Yes.
That's the only thing that satisfies
Yes.
me about those cards.
But I don't collect cards. I collect 8x10s.
yeah,
That's
well,
it. I don't collect other toys or other things, so that's what I want.
Oh, man.
So the other element to this is the mail.
Right. And this is, like we mentioned earlier, I only dipped into it very briefly, and it was like, whatever, next. I didn't really go that deep into it. But is your collection right now bigger from mail or that from, hands-on?
Wow. It's hard to say. I would say it's probably bigger through the mail. Wow. Now, you're taking a chance in terms of, is this authentic or not? But I would have to say, I know what's fake in my collection. When I started, I was a little naive, and maybe I know like Pacino, Paul Newman, Travolta, Stallone, people who I got through like agencies and things like that, they're all fake. So maybe
publicity shots.
Yeah, or I would send something and somebody would like ghost sign it,
Either that or a print.
Yeah, and those are so easy to spot. But as I got more savvy, I started really researching, these people are definitely sending out fakes. These people are sending out prints. These people, but if you caught them at the right place, say they're doing a Broadway play, say they're doing a movie, if you got the right address, it would get right to them, not through like the entourage of people. See, what I would do is, research them. What I do now is I set up Google alerts on certain people because it's a way to track them.
Stalker.
Yes, but I'm doing it just so I can get their autograph. I'm not doing it so I could like meet them
for the good of mankind,
and being in their bathtub. But I remember one of my best stories is Hugh Jackman was doing a one-night-only appearance at Lincoln Center. So I said, well, what the hell? So I sent something like maybe 3 days before. You got to time this right. So I sent it. Nothing came back for a while because I figured if he was doing one night sign, I'd send it back. So nothing came back. About a month later, something comes back from Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm like, what's this? Hugh Jackman. Well, at that time, they were filming X-Men 2 in Vancouver at the Vancouver Film Studios in British Columbia. You can't tell me that wasn't him. It said to Steve, it was a Wolverine picture that I had sent him to Lincoln Center in New York that somebody passed along to him.
Damn.
And he obviously didn't throw it in the garbage. He took it with him and put it in his suitcase. And that's not the only time that ever happened to me. I remember Lawrence Fishburne, we was shooting The Matrix down in Australia. I got the address. Well, it wasn't hard to find. It was where they shot Revenge of the Sith. Sent it there. Nothing. I want to say like 3 months later, I get something back from Boston. My picture, signed Lawrence Fishburne, blah, blah, blah. I want to say, well, what's going on in Boston right now? He was shooting Mystic River in Boston. That has happened to me more times than I can count, where I send something somewhere and it comes back from a totally different place. And that's them because you're saying, well, maybe they sent it to their mom. Maybe all their fan mail goes to their mom and mom signs it. But no, you see where they are at that moment. And some of them have the decency to take it with them. Will Ferrell, I sent him something. He was shooting something in Brooklyn. I sent it to him in Brooklyn. It came back from Chicago. Well, what was he doing? He was filming a movie in Chicago.
I mean, could it be possible that when you get so big, they have services that, give me all your mail. Everywhere you go, they take your mail and they process it, and then they.
Yeah, but think about it.
How do they have the time? I mean,
look, figure that they all have personal assistants.
Yeah,
okay? All of them have personal assistants.
Aside from the ones that are assigned from the production that you happen to be on,
right?
They have their own separate personal assistant.
All these people I just mentioned, say the mail comes in to wherever, it's a studio or it's a Broadway play or whatever. They may not hand the mail directly to the star. They may hand it to their PA. Well, the PA says, okay, here it is. I have it. I put it in a suitcase. We're on to the next thing. The person has a day free or a couple hours free, and he says to his PA, let's sign the mail. And they sign the mail. I mean, that happens. Wow. I mean, these are the people who are decent. There are certain people who, whatever mail gets sent to them wherever they are,
in the shredder
or forward it to my agent, forward it to my publicist, forward it to my blah blah blah, and they'll just
get the generic,
fake it.
If they even send anything back, give them the generic how you doing photo.
Yeah, you'll get nothing. You won't get back what you sent. You'll lose it. So those are like my happiest moments as a collector. Is like you say to yourself, "Wow, they actually, it came back."
What would you say? And this is a difficult question, but what do you think your batting average is on these things?
I would have to say,
for every 100 you sent out, how many you think come back?
Oh, gosh. Well, in terms of just getting something back,
yes,
I would say I'm anywhere between 85 and 90%.
Holy crap.
Well, let's put that in perspective. I am a writer.
Right.
I write for a living.
But that's the thing. Are you sending generic
No.
letters or individual or personalized, not manifestos?
No. I mean,
what would you recommend somebody doing?
Well, that's
something
the
like
thing.
this?
I mean, I would recommend that if you're interested in this hobby, that you only send to people that you actually give a crap about, that their work is meaningful to you, and that you can justify why you're wasting your time and their time writing them a letter and sending it off to them, and hoping, there are certain people, especially young people, like really like teenage girls and stuff like that. I can only imagine the letters that they send to these people. But I'm a 43-year-old man.
So like the 100 of Miley Cyrus letters you sent out.
Exactly. Don't forget too that a decent percentage of what I'm sending out to people, I'm sending out to actors who are well past their prime. I'm sending to actors who were maybe character actors who were really never huge, but they worked.
A lot of them could be retired. They could be just not working anymore.
Not working, or they are still working, but they're sort of unknown. They're like that guy, that girl.
But they were never huge.
Their name was never known. And for those people, again, using the internet and using these websites, their home addresses are there. I mean, whether, getting into privacy issues or not, I mean, I'm not going to their houses. I mean, I'm mailing stuff to their homes. And you're saying
some of these people seem to react well to
They kind of, first of all, a lot of them are happy just to be remembered. And if you write a sincere letter, like, for example, I wrote a letter to Harv Bennett, the producer of the Star Trek films. And I found his address. I found like I actually paid money, not a lot of money, but
Now, he every now and then might pop up in a convention?
Not to my knowledge.
Really? He was kind of behind the scenes always?
If he ever did, then I never saw it.
So he's kind of hard to find.
And I really wanted his autograph. So one of these U.S. search websites or whatever, I maybe paid like $10 for them to, get his address. And it wasn't because it was Harv Bennett. If you write them a letter, or you say, I want Gene Hackman's address, that'll red flag it right there. And they'll say, celebrity, no, we're not giving it to you. But Harv Bennett got it. So I mailed to his address. And I even apologized that I was sending, because I felt like if his address was not public record, that he might be a little, pissed. So again, using my flourishes as a writer, I wrote a very...
I love you. I love you.
Dude, my letters are amazing. I'm just going to say it right now. I mean, my success rate is so high because my letters are so good. And I mean, there might be something of a template that I use.
Okay.
But it's highly personalized.
It feels very personalized.
I mean, I might have sort of 6 or 7 templates. There's my Star Trek template and my this or my that and my Star Wars and whatever.
But then you got to personalize
But I
those
personalize
templates.
the hell out of it. So they don't pick up on the fact that it might have certain whatever. So I sent to Harv Bennett. He mailed me, he signed my stuff and sent it back and said that he was very moved by the letter, and he wrote me this nice note. And at the end of the note, he wrote, I don't know how you got my address, but please don't tell anybody.
Wow.
And I was like, and I kept his word. I kept, I could have went online and just blabbed his address to the whole world. And I didn't.
He's on Star Trek Witness Relocation Program, and you're outing
Yes,
him.
I outed him. I did the same thing. It's a bizarre story.
Well, let me ask you, have you ever gotten negative reactions?
No.
Or this is the closest
That
thing
was the
to
closest
to
thing
a dude, keep it quiet.
keep
type
it
of
on
thing.
the down low.
I guess if you're upset, you just don't respond.
You don't respond. You throw it out.
You don't just tell a guy, hey, what are you doing?
No, because what's the point? You just don't send it.
Who has the time
Yeah,
for
you throw it out.
Chase people around.
And if they're big enough, they have these services where they'll put you on a list, and
Wow.
you be stalkery. But
All right, well, this brings us to the end of part 1 of our autograph collecting show. We are going to continue this because we have so many different tips to give you guys that I don't want you to miss out on them. So I would like to thank Steve for joining me today, and we will see you here next time on Geekfest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Stop! That's not funny.